Hello class, we are now in topic number 3 and we will talk about the recording details of the complaints. In the previous module, we discussed about the importance of referring complaints if we cannot handle um, the said complaints. So we need to refer it to the appropriate person or to the higher management. And before we will discuss about the recording details of the complaints, we will listen first again to the ASEAN Master and at the same time Assessor, Ms. Noemi.
Every establishment should have a compilation of all complaints that had happened in at least in the past 2 years. This compilation of recorder complaints helps establishment in the following way. 1. It establishes a clear record of facts related to a complaint and identifies any communication or action taken. It keeps accurate and impartial facts of a complaint and serves as a reference for any complaint that might arise in the future. The record of complaints also acts as evidence source if additional costs are incurred. This also acts as a tool to identify common problems which are to be investigated and generates a pool of guest preferences which can be used in the future to avoid further complaints. Some food and beverage establishments have a form or mandatory document to fill up in cases of guest complaint. The following are important details to be noted regarding the complaint. Details of the complaint such as his or her name, age, and contact information. Details of the complaint such as date, time, and nature of the complaint. The chronological order of events, summary of discussions, or actions taken. Persons involved, evidence collected, and your recommendations.
So those are the important details with regards to recording details of the complaints. And now we will discuss about the benefits. What are the benefits of recording details of the complaints? So we need to be reminded, for example, if you are working in an establishment or if you have your own business, it is important that we need to keep records in all the guest complaints, the details of their complaints. So again, every establishment should have records of guest complaints. And there are benefits of recording complaints. Number one, it will establishes a clear record of facts relating to a complaint. So we have a clear record. If we will not write down the details, there's a big tendency that our information or the details that we are going to say to the example the management, it is not clear. But if it is written, it will become clearer. Next, because of recording details of the complaint, we can able to identify any communication or action taken. What is our action plan in encountering those problems or complaints? Next, it keeps accurate and impartial facts of complaints. Again, this is the advantage. If we will write down the complaints, we will have the accurate information. And also, it serves as a reference for any complaint that may arise in the future. It will serve as a reference. We can review, we can recheck the details. For example, if we will encounter a future complaints or problems, we can have a reference. And also, it will act as an evidence source if additional costs are incurred. Okay, so the details, the informations that is written down, it will also serve as an evidence source, as a source of evidence. Also, it acts as a tool to identify common problems which are to be investigated. It will become a tool. Okay, so it will become a useful in identifying common problems. And lastly, it will provide a compilation of feedback from the guests, which can be used in the improvement of products and services. as we have discussed in the previous lecture, we emphasizes the importance of these complaints or feedback form. Okay, so the purpose of feedback form is not to destroy the image of the establishment, but as a food service staff, as a manager and as an owner, the feedback, or especially the negative feedback, it is an advantage for us because we have an opportunity to improve our products and services. So if we will improve our products and services, there will be a big tendency that the customers will increase. Next, there are some necessary information in recording complaints. So we'll not just write everything, but we need also to consider the necessary information, the important information that we need to be put in the records. So some food and beverage establishment have a form or documents to be filled out in a cases of guest complaints. So these are the following important details to be noted regarding the complaints. Number one, details of the complaints. What are the informations, or the specific details of the complaint. Next, details of the complaints, the specifically the date and the time it is occurred. Okay, so we need to take down notes, the date and the time. Also, the chronological order of events. What is happening in the first, for example, it is done in 8 a.m. What are the details in 8 to 9 a.m. and then what happened to 10 to 11 a.m. So you need to write down the chronological order of the events. So it is helpful for anyone, for example, if there's an investigator to determine the cause of the problem or the complaint. So it is important that we need to have a chronological order. Also, the summary of the discussion, persons involved, okay, and the evidence collected. For example, you have collected an evidence, you need also to take down notes. What are the evidence? And you need to keep it. Next, the subject of the complaint. If it is the staff, complain about the staff, or complain about the service, or complain about the menu items. So you need to write it down, the subject of the complaint. And lastly, the recommendations or actions that were taken. Again, every problem has a solution. So if we have the problems, the complaints from the guests, we need to take down notes, the important details, the details of the complaints, the date and the time happened, the chronological order of the events, the summary of discussion, the persons involved, evidence collected, and the subject of the complaints, either the staff or the service or the menu item. And lastly, what are the recommendations? Again, every problem has a solution. So what are the recommendations in order to solve the problems or to solve the complaints? So these are the necessary informations in the recording of complaints. Now we will have a formative test. We'll try what is this is an example of a scenario happened in any food and beverage establishment. So first, this is the scene one. This is a conversation between the guest and the service staff. For example, excuse me, yes ma'am, I have a problem with the soup that was served to me. And then the service staff asks, what about it ma'am? So as you can observe, the service staff is openly asking about the guest what is the problem. He's asking about the detail of the problem. And this is the complaint of the guest. It was served cold. One of your staff told me it should be hot. So this is the example of the right way in having a conversation with a guest. Again, in our previous lecture, we discussed that we need to be open with the complaints of the guest. Thank you for raising your concern, ma'am, and I apologize for that. Would you like me to bring your soup back to the kitchen to be reheated? As you can also observe, he's thanking the guest for raising the concern or the complaints, and he asked for an apology for what had happened. And then what we can also observe here is he provides an options. It's either to bring back the soup to the kitchen to be reheated. And this is the response of the guest. What that would be fine, but how long do you think will it take? You see, I have a meeting at 3 in the afternoon and I do not want to be late. This is the answer of the guest. And the service staff answered, I can assure you, ma'am, that it will not be longer than 5 minutes. Then the guest answered, all right, you can take my soup back to the kitchen now. And then we can also observe here that the service staff is thanking the guest. Thank you very much, ma'am. Do you need anything else? And the guest answered, none anymore, thanks. So the question is, what caused the complaints? Cold soup, restaurant, air conditioning, or snob staff? So it is an obvious that the answer is the cold soup. Next, what was the action taken by the staff to resolve the complaint? Asked the guest if the soup can be reheated, told the guest if she wants to order another item, or told the guest to wait while the complaint is referred to his supervisor. So the answer is ask the guest if the soup can be reheated. You can also observe here that the food service staff did not refer the problem to the superior or supervisor. It because the problems can be accomplished by the food staff. We can only refer the problem if we cannot able to handle or it is beyond our rules and or duties and responsibilities. And we also have here scene 2 with a problem of a intoxicated guest. So here's the sample conversation, especially on the food service staff cannot able to handle anymore that complaint, so she will refer it to the manager. Hey, where's my beer? And same scenario or response of the service staff. I apologize, Sir Alvin, but we ran out of beer. Would you like to order coffee or tea instead? So the service staff asked a alternative if they have the coffee or tea. And the guest complained, no, I want beer. I said I want beer. I want it now. And then the service staff responded, as much as we want to, sir, we really cannot serve you anymore. And guest or get angry. I want to talk to the manager. So this time the service staff refer this problem to the manager. If the service staff cannot able to handle the problem, he will refer it to the manager. And here comes the manager. Excuse me, sir. How may I help you? And the guest said, do you not know that I am a regular customer here? I want my beer and your staff says that you do not have no beer to serve. And we can observe here the response of the manager. He still gave an apology to the guest. I apologize for that, sir. I checked with our bar and unfortunately we really do not have any more stock on hand. And we can see here that the guests will get angry. They are shouting and acting rowdy. What kind of restaurant is this? You do not value your customers. I am a paying guest. And the manager responded firmly, I am sorry, sir, but you are starting to cause discomfort to the other guests. May I suggest that you transfer to another table? And guests get angry. No, I want my beer now. And we can see here the response of the manager. I ask you, sir, to calm down. If not, I am sorry, but I will have to ask you to leave now. My staff will see you out. So we can see here in the scenario number 2, we have the question here. What was the action taken by the wait staff? She asked the guest to calm down or she will ask him to leave. Second one, the wait staff referred the matter to the manager. The third, she told the guest to return when the manager comes back. So what was the action taken by the wait staff? Because the wait staff cannot able to handle this problem, so she referred it to the manager. Then we also have question here. What was the action taken by the manager? Okay, not the wait staff, but by the manager. He asked the guest to calm down or he will be taken out of the premises. Or the manager asked his staff to escort the guest out of the establishment, Or number 3, he served the guest more beer so that the guest will calm down. So it is obvious that the answer here is number 1. He asked the guest to calm down or he will be taken out of the premises. And lastly, what is the cause of the complaint? Number 1 is either snub and negligent staff, or a crowded intoxicated guest, or staff refusing to serve alcohol to intoxicated guests. So the answer is the cause of the problem. We have a rowdy, intoxicated guest. Okay, so these are the example scenarios. Scenario number 1, if the staff can able to handle the complaint, so he handled by himself or herself. And for the scene 2, she can't able to handle the problem, so she refer it to the manager. Okay, and those are the right, response to the complainant. So we are done with recording the details of the complaints. And up next, we are in the unit 4, and we will discuss about the performing end of shift activities. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.